Today we are going to talk about procrastination and how to solve it. How to do the things you really don't want to do. Be proud of yourself at the end of the day. That's the life I want to live. I hope you too. So I'm going to share with you my secret formula of dealing with procrastination and overthinking as an alchemist of productivity. I just came up with that joke and I thought it was amazing, but it doesn't sound so good in reality. I will not cut it out though. Bear with me. So basically, I'm pretty sure that at least a few times in your life it happened that you had to do something but you really, really didn't want to do it. However, you had to because maybe, I don't know, you had to pass some exams in school, or maybe you have to finish your PhD, or maybe you have to do your tax return statement, which is a pain in the butt, but you have to do it, right? Because you're an adult, and as we are living in a society, we need to follow some systems as well, right? Okay, what's my secret formula for that? I'm taking my magic pot and what I put inside. First of all, I would say to do the things you really, really don't want to, but you have to, is to change the mindset. And how do you change the mindset? It's not so easy. So you don't ask yourself if you want to do something, and you don't ask yourself if you are motivated to do it. If this something, whatever it is, going to the gym, starting a new career, or like trying to switch a career, or maybe what else could be something boring as an adult have to do, going to blood checkup when you're an adult and dentist appointment. You don't want to do that, right? I mean, most of us, we don't want to do that, but it's important and no one else will do it for you. And in a long-term goals, in the end, you should do it. It's, I guess, one of your priorities if it's there causing your stress and causing your procrastination in one way or another. So, how do you switch your mindset? I will give you an example from my years of growing up as a student of music school. Basically, when you're in a music school, you have to practice every day. And for everyone that is now saying that music is fun, playing music is fun, it's such a cool hobby, whatever, try to do it a few hours a day. Play scales for 1 hour. I will see if you're not bored with it. And you want to just do whatever else, especially when you're a teenager and you want to go out and drink with your friends, or, I don't know, just chill, right? Or maybe you had a difficult day at school, but you still have to practice. And that's the thing, you have to practice every day. If you don't practice, it's a bummer, your teacher will know. In my school, we had twice per week classes with teacher one-on-one for the main instrument. Then you had 1 hour with piano if you are not a pianist. Then other classes obviously as well. But for those you had to practice really, because you will not be able to hide it that you did not practice. What was the main trick for me to practice? Was not to ask myself if I want to. It was the same as if I had to brush my teeth. Sometimes I really enjoyed it, but it's not the case always, as with everything that you have to do every day, and it becomes your routine in a way, right? So not asking yourself if you want to do something, and if you find a motivation. Motivation, I don't know why, but everyone searches for motivation. It's overrated. Motivation doesn't care about your long-term goals, changes that are difficult. So don't ask yourself if you have enough willpower to do that. If it's important for you and you should tackle this thing, don't ask yourself. I wanted to say just do it, but this sounds too basic, right? First of all, don't ask yourself if you want to. Do you have motivation? These questions don't exist. Imagine you're coming back after work super tired, but you promised yourself that you will go to the gym after, but then you see this very comfy couch and you know that there is some nice food in the fridge, and then you are just, okay, I deserve some rest, right? You will never go to the gym. Definitely not that evening. Why did you ask yourself if you want to go? Okay, let's move forward. So the golden rule that helped me, and here I'm not bragging, I just want to show you how many things that were a bit perhaps boring at some point or challenging, I endured with this golden rule. So I did get 2 bachelors and 1 master. And that was a lot of writing, okay, of thesis. And we all know that writing thesis, it's, you know yourself. So try to have the final boss fight early on. It has a huge psychological impact because if you tackle the thing that was the most difficult during the day, during the week, during the month, as the first thing, there is nothing else that can scare you. You are literally a hero. You slayed this dragon. At least that's what I tell myself. And then you can move forward and you can rest. For me, as I am a person that does not have much energy, I'm just like this. I don't have much energy during the day. And I have to manage my energy and time wisely. One of the things that makes me do the stuff that I don't want, but I have to finish, is that I know I can rest after. Yes, literally that. When I have something on my to-do list that is waiting there, maybe I had to send some report, or maybe I had to finish some task at work, or whatever else, and it's still there, but I decide that it's a bit overwhelming, or maybe I can do it this way, that way. I start overthinking. I don't even start doing this thing. Well, I can't relax after. I'm tense. The stress is accumulating as well. And every following day, I feel more and more overwhelmed by the thing I had to do. And also then I don't do that well the other things that I had, because constantly somewhere in my mind there is this final boss fight waiting for me. It's literally almost like a shadow behind me, creeping from the darkness. But it's somewhere behind me, and I hear this voice all the time that I have to do it. But then out of the fear that maybe I will fail, or what else could be, out of being overwhelmed, that the task is too big, I just don't start. And that's a bummer. That's a thing that stops me. That's the thing that blocks me. Therefore, my golden rule is to do this most difficult thing first in the day. That's it. Because there's nothing else that can scare me during the day if I start with that, right? Even if it's for 10 minutes, usually I'm already so hooked on it because, I put this effort that I will stay. But even if I put 10 minutes into it, I know that I will already deal with this dragon or whatever this creature is. So, have the final boss fight early on during the day. That's the golden rule. First, switch off the mindset. Don't ask yourself if you want to, because the final boss will not escape, right? You want to move forward in your life, you have to tackle this, you have to slay this. So don't ask yourself if you want to, I would say, if this is your path that you chose, right? And then another part of it is the ownership of your own decisions and of your own life. I assume, I don't know, as I'm not a psychologist, but I assume that one reason for procrastination is that if at the end of the day we fail in something because we did not put any effort as we were procrastinating, we can say like, I failed because I didn't study. But you were afraid to study because you were afraid to fail, right? So in the end, you somehow leave it up to not you trying even not to fail. I would say knowing that you can, if you make a promise with yourself to, I don't know, finish your studies, to be ready with the tax return, or to save enough money as well, which would be more like trying not to spend then than actually doing something actively. But if you make a promise with yourself, I think it's extremely important to keep your promises, because I believe that I am the only person I should truly trust in my life. And if I cannot trust myself, how anyone else can trust me if I don't keep promises to myself? So that's the crucial part, I would say, of it. Then I use two main tactics somehow, because obviously it can happen that this final task is so huge that it's just overwhelming. But just to keep it simple, I cut it in pieces. Imagine that your task is a big elephant and you want to eat this whole elephant. I cut it in small pieces so I can chew it one by one. And this also goes with the second tactic that I use. Technique, let's say, is a productivity technique. Is Pomodoro, which means, I'm pretty sure that most of you know what is Pomodoro, but this technique is that you have 25 minutes of focus on the task, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes of focus on the task, 5 minutes break. And then if I have a list of Pomodoros, I tackle them one by one. Also, I would highly suggest writing your to-do list on a paper, on a piece of paper, and then when you are done, just or for me, it has a huge impact, and I feel really like, okay, I did something. I made this cross on my to-do list. I tackled this task. I'm moving forward. So yeah, just to summarize this part, first, I would say, is changing the mindset and not asking yourself if you have a motivation, not even look for the motivation. Don't ask yourself if you have motivation. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation, it can come, it can go. But if in your long-term goals you want to achieve something, you don't ask yourself if you are motivated to do it. And second, have the final boss first, because it will not go away. Maybe you will have even more allies then when you go to slay it in the dungeon. But it's there on your path somehow, right? I guess because you chose it, or because we are living in some type of a system that chose it. My light! No! That chose it for you. If you want to keep promises to yourself, which I think is kind of crucial in life, do the things that you're supposed to do, that you promised yourself you have to do, that you expect from yourself to do. Now, the second part of the video is a bit more philosophical. However, it's deeply connected with the main topic. I would say the roots are in this philosophy and why I approach life in this way. Maybe it will be helpful for you. I hope. I have 2 books recommendation. So as we were talking about procrastination, having the ownership of your decisions and consequences as well, ownership of your life in general, as this is what it actually is, right? Doing the things that you are supposed to do, that you decide to do, or that you have to do because they are your duties, and doing them because no one else will do. It's a part of owning your own life, right? Owning your own path. So one thing that I try to have in mind, and I also work on, comes from Stoic philosophy. Stoics are becoming more and more popular. I know that there was some kind of a boom for Stoic philosophy a few years ago, which is great because I think that it can help in many situations and in daily life. I would say that for first time Stoic readers, or in general, if you don't want to indulge too much yourself, perhaps just a few minutes per day you would like to spend to expand on this philosophy, I would recommend the Daily Stoic, which is great. It's like a short meditation that you can have for each day, and You have some quote from one of the famous or less famous philosophers, and then how we say rozmyślania in English? I'm not sure, but in general, it's basically a quote and then some kind of elaboration, maybe with some real life example. This book, highly recommended. I have it in English, I have it in Polish, I had it as an audiobook as well. Easy, small bites of wisdom which stay with us. And the second book I would like to recommend, but this is for readers that don't mind reading slow, I would say, don't mind taking their time to read as well. And this is definitely not a summer read. Maybe it is, perhaps it's just not for me as a summer read, but those are the meditations. I have this in Polish, but this book, it should be called, or maybe Reflections or Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, my favorite boy. I truly admire him. And one part that it's really somehow already incorporated in me as a what I've learned from Stoic philosophy is that you never know if this is not the last day of your life. Therefore, you should do the things that you have to do well. It's maybe sounds a bit, surprising because how I can do my tax return well if I know this is the last day of my life. But the truth is that you should, I'm telling it to myself now. I should be happy, I should be proud of how I spend my day. Which means that there should be no crippling shadow behind my head as well, telling me that I failed to do something, that I promised myself to do something, I didn't keep the promise. No, and this for me wouldn't mean that I spent my time well, and in some way maybe it would also trigger some type of a guilt, let's say. Doing your task as if this is the last task you're going to do in your life, it helps to keep the quality of what you are doing. For example, as I already mentioned, I want to do my tasks that well that no one will come back to me to repeat the task or to make some correction or whatever. I don't want to be bothered. I want to be done and move forward. Therefore, I try to do the things that I have to do as good as possible. And then I can rest. It also connects with relationships that we have. So having in mind that you never know when you are going to die. You never know when the other person is going to die. Is this your last meeting, maybe? Or is this, your last day as well? You don't know. So say the things that you are afraid to say. Good and bad, both. Also say sorry if this is not a good or bad thing. It's I don't know in which category it would fall. But say the things that you want to say to other people. Keep the connections you want to keep as well. I'm telling it to myself. Don't take it as a coaching, okay? And do the stuff that you have to do to keep your plate clean and be able to create the life that you desire. Knowing that you can trust yourself and you can, if you promise yourself to do something, you can keep that promise. I think this is crucial for many reasons, but from basic psychology of me, at least, it's really important to know that I can trust myself and I own my decisions and I own the consequences of my choices. And if I tell myself to do something, I will do. At the end of this video, which basically I guess the title should be Living with No Regrets, because that's kind of the core of it. But at the end of that, I would like to ask to try to do it at least for a week and see if it's changing anything, because maybe it's not like this for everyone. I do think it should work though. This formula is pretty much universal. But yeah, let me know, what do you think? I feel weird about asking, let me know what do you think in the comments, because it's only my friends and family watching, so yeah, let me know what do you think. Bye.